Hello, I'm Trudy Friend. In the first two programs you saw how I used my basic strokes for pencil work and in watercolour work. Now I'm going to show you how to take them on into the depiction of a little squirrel in pencil. First of all, I like to get a quick sketch drawn, and when you have squirrels in your garden as we do, and they are situated just outside the kitchen window on a little bird table, they sit there still for quite some time. And you can get your sketchbook out and just do a quick sketch as I've done. I've done this one quite large. I'm going to reduce it for the final drawing. In order to transfer him onto good paper, I'm going to look at which areas I can line up, and I call it my guideline technique. If I run a line down from behind the ear, I notice that it lines up with this part of his arm. If I run a line down from behind the eye, I'm looking at a little what I call a shape between the guideline I've drawn and part of his hand and chin. If I look at a little shape like that as an abstract shape, it will help me put him together. Rather than thinking of the object, the squirrel himself, I often think about the negative shapes and try to get those right. We could drop a guideline down from there and notice how close it is to the eye. I can put a guideline down in front of his nose and across from the base of his little fingers and look at a shape outside of the actual image. So all these guidelines, when I drop them down, will help me line things up vertically. I can also do the same thing horizontally. I could take a line from behind the ear and look, and I do it quite roughly as you see, I can look at the shape underneath. And I have actually here a little drawing showing how I've reduced him in size, and I've actually drawn on where a lot of the guidelines have come so that I know how to place the components in relationship to each other. So having done that, I use a light box or a window to trace the image onto good paper. So if you haven't a light box, you put your sketch up at the window and you put your sheet of paper, and this is ordinary cartridge paper, but it's all right to look through it. When there's a light behind, I can quite clearly see my image under it. And I very gently draw in what I call the edge line. I don't refer to it as an outline because that might mean something that looks a bit diagrammatic. I don't want a hard line. I want to be very soft in the way I just go around the edges of the image. And then once he's on the paper like that, I can start drawing. I always start with the eyes, because if I get the eyes wrong, I always feel it's not worth going on. I've got to get the eye right. When I draw the eye, I don't just go round the shape. I think of looking for angles to a certain extent. I come up and across and down. So I'm actually thinking a little bit of angles at the top, and then I feel my way round the form. So I'm feeling the roundness of that eye. So it's not just a case of drawing an outline round the eye. And then I want to find where I have the highlight. I'll glance across at where I've put mine to the side, and I've got the highlight at the top here. So I put a tiny little circle to say the highlight, and then I work away from it. So you remember I'm doing now an up to and away stroke. Up to my highlight and away from it. And I slowly build the shape of the eye. But I'm not pressing too heavily at the moment. So it's not a black eye, it's just toned in so that my eye recognizes that solid shape. Now I'm going to work out from that eye by taking it down into that little corner there, and I glance across at the distance where I've got my first shadow tone, which is just beyond the eye there, and I'm doing little pull down strokes and feeling my way round the form, and I'm also feeling my way round the form in this direction, so I'm working out from the eye. I'm going to take a slightly softer pencil, a 2B, and slowly darken that bit, take it out into a tiny little shape beyond, and then out into this area here, and I'm following the shape of the form. Now I'm not going to do too much at this side because being right-handed I would be smudging it quite a bit. I just wanted to get the eye in place and then feeling some of the strokes under the chin here, and feeling a few of the strokes coming away here, just building it up a little. And this is the advantage of having a drawing that you feel confident with. If you work hard at your drawing, you get things in the right position, you'll find that you can actually dance about and go to different areas when you want to, rather than always having to check up that you've got it right. I'm going to slowly build up other shapes now, just building up the little bit of tone, and at the base of the tummy under here, it's usually much lighter, and then it gets a little bit darker up here. And I've got little strokes coming down there, and there's a lot of ruffles under there. I might even at this moment tone in this so that I don't get lost. I can actually look at the tone that's in that area there, and I'll look in at the ear and get a shadow recess shape in the depths of the ear here, and then tone up a little bit on that one. So I'm gently building up the head, and again back to the eye, and then beyond it, and then out again. I'm looking at a little shape there that relates to the back of the ear, and just feeling my way around all these little indentations of fur, and it'll be nice and dark round here. So I can begin to get the feeling of him growing, and his tail comes round over his back. Now I've got a piece of paper that I can put under my hand to stop it smudging. I'm going to move across to the ear, and because that paper is protecting the eye, I can carry on drawing. So I'm going to build up the tone inside the ear and behind the ear with this piece. Quite often you can do an area of flat tone and then build over the top of it if you want to give some shape to it. So you graze first, and the ear that's behind is often darker than the one in front. I'm going to pull down some little strokes for his hair on the head and try and relate the ear to the eye, following the form. So I'm going this way on top and over the head, and then underneath I'm trying to think of how his little jaws would be, because he's got a nut in his mouth here. And I'm pulling it down, toning it in, and getting his little chin in place, and the ruffles under there. A little bit of tick and flick here because that is overlapping and starting on the back of the arm. And again, I'm feeling my way around the form for that. And I'm coming back up to the top and following the form here. And around here. So that in a minute I can get an idea of how I'm building the 3D image. At the moment I'm still working with a soft pencil, and this is a 2B. And this tail is coming over the back, tick and flick in here. That brings some light shapes in front of the dark, and then a few pull downs to get those coming over the top there. And then they have quite thin tails actually. There's a very thin tail in here, and the hair can be rather sparse on the tail, so you can see the light through it. It's very, very bushy. And I'm dancing about to get the feel of this whole body shape at the moment. And back to the arm and following the form round here. A little bit of light comes in front there. And this can be again just toned in, and I can go over it afterwards. I'm toning it in just to put it in the distance for the moment. I'm going to get a finer one because of these claws. They're so delicate. And little pull down strokes. And little hair, the way that comes over the claw, and dark behind. A little bit of tone on that one. And feeling my way around his little leg there. A bit more dark here. And the hair that comes down from his arm as he's holding his little nut. You can see how I'm dancing about all over the body, and I'm slowly going to build up the tone of the main hair, which is this grey, and leave the lighter hair underneath.